All right, what are the strengths and weaknesses of Zoysia? I'm glad you asked, because that's what we're going to talk about today. Let's go over weaknesses first, because that'll be short and to the point, because there's not a whole lot of weaknesses. If you're wondering why Zoysia is the most expensive grass, it's because it has the least amount of weaknesses. I think the biggest weakness is that it can be confusing what Zoysia you're talking about, because there's many types of Zoysia as there are types of grass. So there's Zoysia that's a lot more like Bermuda grass, there's a Zoysia that looks a lot like centipede, and there's Zoysia that acts a lot more like St. Augustine. And so I would say that's the biggest negative. But believe it or not, even though there's a span of a wide variety of different types of Zoysia, they all, the strengths I'm about to go through, they're true across the board. I'd say the biggest one that's maybe not the case is, let's talk about shade. So different types of Zoysias tolerate the shade differently, but in general, Zoysia tolerates shade better than, it definitely tolerates shade better than Bermuda grass. And by the way, this is 2026. With every year and decade that passes, this information can change. They're working on shade tolerant varieties of Bermuda grass right now. But in general, Zoysia is more shade tolerant than Bermuda. It can tolerate the shade better. There's some types of Zoysia where you'll hear people argue that it's more shade tolerant than Bermuda centipede and St. Augustine. And so if you have a question about that, let me know. I'll be glad to answer. But that's a strength of Zoysia, is that it's more shade tolerant. It's more drought tolerant than centipede and St. Augustine. Zoysia, like Bermuda, it has stems that grow underground. Of course, roots, but stems called rhizomes that grow underground. And so when the drought comes, just like Bermuda grass, Zoysia, it can tolerate that drought a lot better than centipede grass or St. Augustine grass. Weed control, it keeps weeds out of the turf better than Bermuda grass. If you really pay attention to the turf canopy of Zoysia grass, it's a really thick canopy, meaning the way that the grass grows together, it's really tight. It's tighter than Bermuda grass. Bermuda grass, it lets in all kind of weeds, but Zoysia grass, since it's a tighter turf canopy, doesn't have as many weeds, especially where the Zoysia is healthy. Disease, yes, just like any grass, Zoysia grass can get disease, but not that often. It can get large patch, but you have to be watering a lot, or we have to be getting a lot of rain during the cool times of the year, like the fall and the spring. Otherwise, we just don't get very many calls for disease in Zoysia, thankfully. It doesn't get dollar spot nearly as bad as Bermuda grass. It can get it in the summertime, but it's just overall it's resistant to disease. And then insects. I've been doing this for 16 years. I can't tell you one time that I've been called out for an insect issue in Zoysia grass. Bermuda grass will get armyworms. St. Augustine will get chinch bugs. Zoysia grass, not in our area of the world. It doesn't get insect problems. So those are the strengths and weaknesses of Zoysia. Let us know if you have any questions. We love questions, and we'll see you next time.